Welcome to the Next Play podcast. I'm Tommy Brown, your host, and Greg, our co-host. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Hello, everybody.
So our special guest today is Bobby Champagne. Bobby is an assistant coach at the number one ranked Houston Cougars. Bobby, how you doing, buddy?
Man, doing great. Doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
So, Bobby, you're number one ranked right now, and I don't know when we're going to drop this. And so anyway, we may drop it tomorrow, but we may wait a little bit. So you're number one right now. So tell us about being number one. How is that? I mean, that's pretty cool, huh?
It a lot more ticket requests for games. That's about the only thing that has changed in my life right now.
All right, so Bobby, the first thing we do with guests that I have asked to be on here is I try to tell your story, your bio, and then you will correct what I missed on this. So, all right, here we go.
How far back we going?
I mean, I can go all the way back. I can guess your year of birth. So let's try it.
All right.
All right. So Bobby Champagne was born in 1968. He
67.
was. That's pretty good, though, isn't it?
Yep.
So Bobby has been a Division I assistant at different places. He was at UTEP, and then he was at North Alabama for, I'm going to say, 16 years.
15.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Won tons of games, went to multiple NCAA tournaments, really did a phenomenal job there. He is now at Houston. He's working for Kelvin Sampson, who is now, what milestone did he pass there recently?
700. Yeah, 700 first game of the year, Northern Colorado.
That's a lot of wins. So now you are the assistant for the number one team in the country. Now North Alabama went
Director
Division
of basketball operations.
Oh yeah, so I mean,
I'm gonna keep correcting you. You said it correct.
at North
His
Alabama
percentage is going down.
Yeah, there you go. North Alabama decides to go Division I, and they think that they are really cool and they've got to be all. And so they decide to make a change, and you and I will talk about that and how we've both been through that, which is incredibly stupid on their part. But anyway, I'll say that publicly to all you North Alabama people who made that decision. And
We're
now
not making fans on this podcast.
There you go. And you did you tried a couple other things, but coaching is your passion. And so you got back into it, and now you're at Houston again. So that's pretty good. What did you are married. You have your son plays at Christian Brothers. I think you have two other children, and they may be three other children, at least two more girls, right?
2 boys. I've got 3 boys, 1 girl.
3 boys, 1 girl. Wow. Okay, good. And
1 at Christian Brothers, 2 at Auburn. 1's a junior in high school in Florence, Alabama. My daughter's the youngest.
That's awesome. So anyway, you've been at a bunch of different places. And so we have Greg Stewart here, who is the NAI National Character Coach of the Year. Did you ever win a character award, Coach Champagne?
In high school, I was voted the biggest character in the school. Yeah.
There you go.
I never received any character awards either. So, all right, Greg. Greg, you have our first question. What do you have for Coach Champagne?
You bet. Well, as the listeners may or may not know, I'm from Houston. So Houston is my hometown where I grew up and spent a lot of time rooting for some of the local teams down there, with the University of Houston being one of those in several sports. And I grew up actually going to Hoffines Pavilion, which I think now, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Fertitta Center?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
2016, I believe they made the renovations.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been in that gym a few times and actually got to see the Cougs play when I was younger. But one of the things that I definitely remember a lot about, just giving the listeners my background, is probably in tears over the 1983 Phi Slamma Jamma team that lost to NC State and Coach V and that national title game. But one of the things I wanted to start off by asking is, what do you think of Houston? I think you said you've been down there a little over a year. What do you think about the town?
Oh, I love it. It's a great place. I live inside the loop in Midtown, so I can be close to campus, and great places to eat. There's always something going on. The Astros World Series champs. The Rockets are rebuilding, I guess, with a bunch of young guys. But there's always something going on, and University of Houston athletics has got things rolling with the move to the Big 12 next year. And Coach Sampson, really, the last 5 years, what he's done, unbelievable. And our football team last year, bowl game, and probably get another bid this year. So things are on the move. It's a great time to be here.
So number one in the country. That is incredible. I mean, how long has it been since Houston's been number one in the country?
Go back to 1982, 83 when Phi Slamma Jam was rolling through here. So
wow.
Yeah, most of your listeners probably weren't alive.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, they probably have only seen the highlight of the Lorenzo Charles dunk and maybe nothing else. So yeah. In context, that was a last second kind of heave ho, if you will, shot that Lorenzo Charles jumped up there and it was kind of like an alley-oop, but I think a missed shot that he dunked with no time on the clock to win that 1983 national title.
Yeah, Benny Anders almost stole that ball, and we wouldn't be talking about Jim Valvano running around.
That's right.
Yeah, what is that? Survive and Advance, where he really almost got that. That was incredible. So I mean, what Houston basketball up until this point? So 1983. They're a top team in the country up there, and now you guys are back at the top. You made a Final Four. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? Elite Eight last year, right? And
correct.
I mean, what do you think? Is it just Kelvin Sampson? Is he the secret sauce, or what is it? Do you think?
It's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Culture, but the Houston basketball team program lives culture daily. It's just not something, whether we're at practice, preparing for a game, preparing for an Elite Eight game, preparing for an exhibition game or a scrimmage, the preparation's the same. It does not change. The standards don't change. Whether we win a game by 1 or win a game by 30, there are certain things that need to happen, and everybody's held to that standard, and everybody's held accountable for it. So, Coach tells us all we need to be all conference in our role on the team, and everybody that's associated and that's here in the Guy V. Lewis Development Center is held accountable to be an all league performer.
Can you give us some examples about that? Like what the day-to-day, I mean, like that he, obviously you guys are all a part of it, but how is he getting this done? I mean, what is the, you say culture, but like we've got hopefully a bunch of coaches and a bunch of athletes. So how can we take some things you guys do on a daily basis and implement them in our lives and in our programs?
Well, they have a game where it's shoot around. It's not really a shoot around. It's an hour and 15 minutes of practice. And just last week, we're preparing for an opponent, and the guys didn't have the right focus on blocking out and rebounding. We put the bubble on the rim, and we did a bubble drill for a while.
This is the day of a game.
Day of a game, yes, sir. Yeah. And that's not, hey, you 5 starters or you 7 guys that have been playing a lot of minutes, go over here. It's everybody. Walk on. Everybody's involved in it, and it's a war. We won a game the other night. I think it was a 30-point win, but twice during the game, somebody didn't get on the floor for a loose ball. We started practice with the loose ball drill, and everybody got on the floor for a loose ball. And so then you go to the next game, and we're kind of, starting out a little slow. And then all of a sudden, Tremont Mark is 5 feet behind his guy, and the guy's just going to pick it up and keep it. Tremont Mark dives on the floor, gets it, flips it up ahead to J1 Roberts for a dunk. Teeter Center goes crazy. We go on a 11-0 run. So it's every day we're little bitty habits that are compounded so that, come March, hopefully we're playing our best basketball and doing those things at a high level.
So it's a daily, it's a daily deal. Toughness is every day, right? It's everything you guys probably talk about and preach every day. I'll tell you, do you agree with this? I think a lot of coaches don't hold their best players to the same standard as they do maybe the 8th or 9th man, where, they kind of let those guys slide on diving on the floor for a loose ball or doing some different things like that. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
I don't know about other coaches, but this staff does not. So we've got a McDonald's All-American. He's diving on the floor. He doesn't step in and take a charge. We all get to take a charge at practice. And it's in everything. If everybody's wearing a black hoodie sweatsuit on the road, everybody's wearing a black hoodie sweatsuit on the road. It's not, oh, I forgot mine, or hey, I don't feel like wearing it. It's what we do. Everybody's held to the same standard, held accountable, and that's top on down. Simple deal. You shoot an air ball in practice, shoot around, layup line, whatever. You got it down and back. Well, we're at the Sweet 16 last year, and coach is just horsing around while the guys are stretching. He shot an air ball. He ran it down and back in the element or wherever it was we were at. So it's everybody.
That's powerful. All right, Greg, you got the next question. Bobby, sometimes in these interviews, I tend to dominate with my going down rabbit trails and ADD, and I know you understand that since
I'm there.
You and I are friends. So, anyway, Greg, you got it.
Yeah, I'll jump in a few times, more than I usually do, Tommy, because I'm excited to hear more about University of Houston basketball and find out just, really as you're asking, what's making their program so good right now. Because I'm just a proud Houstonian. My mom's a alum of University of Houston. So they watch a lot of those games and every now and then get to go to them. So I know you got some
Bobby,
other fans.
Greg has written off the Astros, by the way, because he's a man of morality and he is, they cheat a lot. So he has written them off. So anyway, Greg, we don't need to talk about your reasons.
We don't need to go there. We need to go there. Yeah. It's still kind of one of those things that, you just hope that people keep doing things right and learn from mistakes that they made. But anyway, the point that I was getting at though is I'm super excited about seeing the University of Houston going into the Big 12 and being recognized at that. I would just say as a conference member again, I grew up watching them in the Southwest Conference and pulled for them way back in the day when, Coach Lewis was there. And then of course, just seeing University of Houston games, getting to watch football as well in the Astrodome. One of the things I was going to ask you, Coach, is, what do you think right now is making your program so successful as it's been in the last few years? On top of the culture that you mentioned, what are some of the other keys to success that you think the University of Houston is having right now?
Well, when Coach took the job, and he talks about this regularly, when he took the job, he was coming from the Rockets, and he basically put things in his contract. They talked about renovating Hofheinz. They talked about having a practice facility. They talked about chartering planes and different things that help you win games. And he had all those things written into his contract that if by this time this is not done, null and void or whatever. I don't know exactly what the language was, but it wasn't, hey, because when I was at South Alabama, we used to show pictures of a new arena. And Jeff Hodge came in as a freshman looking at that picture, and the Mitchell Center was built 20 years later. So, he took the job, and Hofheinz needed to be renovated, need a practice facility. And so 2 years later, ground's broken on the Guy B. Lewis Development Center, and that's where our guys practice, have a locker room, have a weight room, have all those things that you need to do what good programs do. And then a year later, after the season was over, renovated Hofheinz, played all their games at Texas Southern, home games at Texas Southern that year. And, students are coming to games now. There was a picture on social media just last week, 2013, the year before Coach got here. Houston playing, I believe it was Prairie View, it might have been Alcorn, and you could count 20 people in the stands. And then they showed a picture of the Kent State game just last week, and you could maybe count 20 empty seats. So
That's great.
it's, winning takes care of things. People all want to be a part of a winning program, but there's a whole lot of foundation that needs to be built in order to do that. Our guys have the very best nutrition. That's an X factor. And coaches put people in place, that a strength coach, an academic person, on down the list of the little things that need to be taken care of, so that the head coach can worry about coaching, the three assistants can worry about coaching and recruiting, and the rest of us take care of those peripheral things. That as a Division II head coach for 15 years, it was me and one other guy doing all those things. And so it is a lot more difficult when you have to do all that and you're relying on somebody else who doesn't have any skin in the game. Everybody who's doing something here has some skin in the game. We're all got the same mission.
Greg,
Thanks for sharing that, Coach.
Before you ask the next question, Greg, so obviously there's a commitment from the administration there. Obviously, I mean, he made sure of that on the at the onset. So most of us are at places or coaching somewhere where the administration maybe isn't as supportive. So how do we deal with that? I mean, how do you go about it where there's maybe unrealistic expectations for what, the resources you have, or maybe that, the administration just doesn't get it. They don't care. Any thoughts on advice on to the coaches out there who are dealing with that, which is probably about 90% of the coaches out there?
Yeah. I mean, coach makes this comment all the time. He says, after Coach Lewis was here for 42 years, they went through a number of coaches and were firing them. And he's like, I can't believe you're firing the coach. You're giving them a butter knife to go into a war with guys who got nuclear weapons. And so holds the administration and the boosters and those people accountable too. Hey, you say you want to win. Here's what it takes to win. Are you willing to get to the place that it needs to be? And he's pretty I don't want to say adamant, but he's going to make sure if you said you were going to do something, it's going to get done. And so that's really, we made a commitment to fill up Fertitta and make it the environment that it needs to be for the students. And that's what we're doing. There's 2 or 3 of us every day trying to come up with different ways to get people in the arena and create the environment that needs to, so we can have a home court advantage. Because when we start traveling to Kansas and Iowa State and those places, it's a different world than say the American. When we travel in the American, we're that game on everybody's schedule. So Central Florida's filling the arena, East Carolina's filling the arena, Tulsa's filling the arena. In the Big 12, everybody's filling the arena for every game. So it's not,
sure.
Hey, can I get tickets to the Memphis and SMU game? It's, can I get tickets to the Houston game? We want to come see our home team play.
But I imagine having Kansas and Iowa State and those people come to your place is going to be pretty cool, obviously.
Yeah, will be. Yeah. So I spent 3 years with Coach at Oklahoma when it was the Big 8. And so he understands what it's like in that league, and just trying to get administrators and fans to understand what it's going to be like is a big hurdle that we're going to cross heading into next season.
Yeah. All right, Greg, you got the next question.
Yeah, you bet. So Coach, I know Tommy shared a little bit about your history, and I think maybe got it, 60% accurate, 60% correct, but I know you'll be able to fill in.
I was
some
close
blanks.
on some answers. It's not horseshoes, but I was pretty close.
Well, that's why we like having our guests clear the air and be succinct in their background. And
hey, the best thing is
blanks.
I almost guessed your age. That's pretty good, isn't it? Like
I mean,
yeah,
bald head.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So Coach, I'm curious if you don't mind telling the listeners. I know you said you coached with Coach Sampson previously at maybe one or two other stops in your career, but how did you get to Houston, and how did you make the decision to go to Houston as the director of basketball operations?
Well, the decision was easy. Coach called me and offered me the job, and he was nice enough to say, "Hey, I know you got to talk to your wife Anna, but I need to have an answer this afternoon." And long story short, about an hour later, I called my wife. I was coaching at a small high school at the time, so had to go speak to my principal and had to teach classes, and didn't want to be on my cell phone during school hours. So when I got a break, I called my wife and I said, "Hey, Anna, Coach called me and offered me a job at Houston," and her response was, "Are you leaving today or tomorrow?" So,
so she knew.
Oh yeah, and
she knew you had to make that move, obviously.
Yeah, she, you alluded to North Alabama firing me, sending me a text message and a voicemail to meet in HR on March 12th. And, my wife watched me for 3 years make some sacrifices for my family and my kids, keeping everybody there in Florence and becoming an all-state insurance agent, coaching high school girls basketball, volunteering at the high school that my kids went to just to kind of stay involved, coaching a mom and pop AAU team with some guys in Lauderdale County. And, she knew that I wasn't doing what I was passionate about, but I was making a sacrifice for my family. So when the opportunity arose, and what a great opportunity. To have a Hall of Fame, one of the best in college basketball, pick up the phone and call you and say, "Hey, here's a job." So
how did you get through that time? I think that's something that everyone, because you and I talked a couple of times during that, and it's obviously we were both treated unfairly, and we could talk about that for 3 days, but at some point, what good does that do? So, but you are trying to figure out what the next step is, as so many coaches that get fired do. And you tell us about the day-to-day, what's going through your head. And now you end up at the number one team in the country, number one in the country. So you go from, being fired to going through, "Hey, I'm a high school girls coach," which nothing wrong with that. That's great.
No,
and
a lot of
all
fun.
State insurance, all that. And you're like, but I'm talking to you, I knew your passion was still, you had it in you. You're good at what you do. So really good. So talk about that process of how you got through it, I guess, that time.
Some would say I didn't do very well getting through it. One, you're in a small town. You've been to Florence. I live 2 blocks from the gym. My kids went to the elementary school there on campus. If there was a volleyball game, I was there. A softball game, I was there. Women's basketball there. International students having something there. The president wanted to have a pie in the face deal. I was there. Sororities wanted me to walk a mile in their high heel shoes. I was there. So our family was ingrained in the community. So now all of a sudden I'm not the head basketball coach. And,
you were North Alabama in a lot of ways to a lot of people. And I'm not just saying that because you're on here. I'm saying that like that was just, the way I think a lot of people saw you. So,
that was kind of, Gary Elliott won a national championship in North Alabama, did a great job. And one of the things that they talked to me about was getting the community engaged with the team. And so, that came natural to me. We had weeks of camp. So all these young kids were coming, they would come to games. And so, and I had kids too. So I was involved in coaching my kids' little league, going to my kids' soccer games, and just being involved, Cub Scouts, all of that stuff.
Which is important to every coach out there to do those things, to be high school, whatever, college, whatever sport it is, be in the community, be a part of it like you were. So
Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're not the coach and you are still, I mean, I got some great friends in Florence that are been there forever. And so
but you find out who your friends are in a tough time like that.
you got a lot of acquaintances, and not so much friends. That really and truly there's like 5 people you can count on in your life. I've heard a story about it's probably 6, because those guys are going to pick you up when you're down, and they're also going to put you down when you're done. And those are the guys, 6 guys carrying your coffin. There was 3 or 4 people that on a weekly, if not bi-weekly, gave me a call and just say what's going on. And I knew they were just calling. They were just checking on me. And I really appreciated that. When I was at UTEP, Billy Gillespie took over right before I took to the North Alabama job. And we were basically let go as assistant coaches. Or prior to that, when Jason Rabideau resigned, my phone was ringing off the hook. And they were all people I knew, but I hadn't heard from in a long time. And they weren't really calling to check on me and my family that had just moved from the Southeast out to the desert. They were trying to find out who was going to get the job and how they could get it in. And so you find out quickly who your friends are, again, I'm at Houston, and now all of a sudden I'm getting some more phone calls, and then, hey, we number 1 ranked, or Sweet 16, Elite 8, and now those same.
Hey,
those
by the way, I invited you on the podcast when you guys were like 2 or 3 months ago. We talked about this, so you can't. I'm a little bit like that, I admit, but I did invite you a while back. But now that you're number 1, it was more on my heart.
Hey, jump on the bandwagon when you can, man. Hope that nobody pushes you off.
Hey, Bobby. So I think this will be funny too. Chad Werder, who we both love, is he's an assistant out Permer, and he was at Flagler. So he calls me one day. He goes, hey, because I was assistant at Presbyterian. He goes, hey, Tommy, do you know many bigs out there? And I go, I don't know, Chad. He goes, well, how are you doing? I said, well, my dad died 2 days ago, Chad. So it's really been a tough time. He goes, man, I'm so sorry. So do you know of any bigs out there? So, that was literally, I mean, you can probably tell 100 stories like that.
Well, the thing that I probably figured out during those 3 years the most is what's really, really important. We all say it. And how much time did you spend raising someone else's kids, those 13 guys on your team, and neglect those kids that actually had your genetics, and
golly.
It wasn't the best of times, but I got to watch every one of my 2 sons junior and senior year of high school basketball, which I would have never been able to do if I was still coaching, and which I missed this last year. My 3rd son was a senior, and I didn't get to see him play one game. My daughter is a junior. I haven't gotten to see him play a game. The other night we're going to a scouting report, and I'm watching Christian Brothers on my iPhone on a bad, how bad the feed is. So I did learn how important my family was to me, and kind of had some regrets on some things that maybe during those 50, because when you think about it, you get a text message and you go to HR and they tell you go clean your office out. You think about all those times that you said, hey, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do that, as opposed to taking care of, your family, and your family's going to be there through thick and thin. Those boosters and presidents and ADs and administrators and those other people, they're just going to move on to the next coach. And it's very easy to see. Go to North Alabama's website. I don't even exist.
Yeah. And the floor should be named after you.
Nah, Gary, the floor should be named after Gary Elliott. But it's
Hey, they named a toilet after me at Lee, like in one of the put it above.
all right.
I put my
Oh, man.
nameplate above that thing. So,
Greg, see
hey,
if
how
you
about
can, Greg, see if
That's
you can
funny.
rein this thing in.
hey,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Bobby, I'm one win away from being the all-time winningest coach at Lee. How bad does that suck? I mean, can you even? Is that not crazy?
Can we
So,
go back? Can we go back? I'll forfeit one of mine. if they'll
yeah,
give it
let's
to
do
you.
it.
Yeah.
All right, Greg.
Well,
ask,
Coach, yeah, I appreciate you sharing, some of that stuff from the heart that coaches do have to deal with from time to time, the sacrifices they make and not spending as much time with their kids, especially sometimes in their formative years when you're out on the road and traveling. And I just think it's important that all of our, listeners out there just realize, again, with this podcast being about overcoming mistakes and dealing with adversity, coaches have that adversity sometimes even in their own personal life. And it's something that you've got to have without question, as you mentioned, without your wife being as supportive as she is when you got this job at the University of Houston, you wouldn't even be there. And all of us could say the same thing about our wives and how much they supported us and our families to sacrifice spending time with us. But one of the things I was just curious about, Coach, is what do you do in the off season when obviously I know at your level it's recruiting all the time, it's probably setting schedules all the time. But what is something you can maybe share with the coaches out there on what you do to help just stay focused and spend that quality time with your family when you're not coaching?
Well, the little bit of time that I do get is to be present. And it's easier I found out it was easier as an All-State agent. When I walked out the door and locked the door, I left the insurance business at home. As coaches, we don't do that so often. There's always one more recruit to call. There's always one more thing to do. There's always something you're worried about. And maybe it's because of the position I'm in now as the ops guy, and I'm not recruiting and doing different things. But when I did get to go home for my son's graduation and Memorial Day and 4th of July and go to the exhibition game my son played against Memphis or different things like that, I tried to, as best I could, not to be on my cell phone checking to see what was going on until I got in my bed at night and then went back to try and catch up on the day, because you have so few moments, hours, days that you will not get back. You won't, and somebody was in my office the other day and their phone rang and I said, "Oh, it's my wife, I'll call her back." And I said, "No, pick that phone up. You don't know when's the last time you're going to talk to your wife. So go ahead and take it." And I probably didn't learn that until I didn't have basketball. Coaching was taken away from me. So you kind of cherish that a little bit, and you do try as best you can. I probably talk to my kids a whole lot more now that I'm 11 hours away from them than I did when I was sitting right there in the house with them. I try and make it a point to call them every day. Whereas sometimes, I'd see them in the morning and they'd be eating breakfast and get in the car and go to school. And it was, "Hi, bye, how was your day?" Off and running. And now because I'm not there, I take a little bit more time to try and figure out, "Hey, how was your day? What did you do? How was your class?" Things that I did with my team. I had my players come in every day and, "Hey, how's things going?" and not talk about basketball. But I neglected that a little bit with my children, just assumed that things were going good because my wife did a great job and she handled it. But now that I am in Houston and one son in Memphis, two sons in Auburn, and a daughter in Florence, I don't get to see those day-to-day things. So I try and make some FaceTime is a great thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Coach. And just a reminder to all you young coaches out there, just a really good point that Coach made about being present, because I know we've all made those mistakes as coaches in our careers when, we're worried about recruiting somebody or getting the next big or whatever we're trying to do as a coach to make our programs better. But, for me, it wasn't until COVID really hit that I was able to reset and make sure that my wife and my kids were my priority. And so I appreciate you sharing that, Coach, because we could all fall short of what we want to be as family men or, spouses. But at the same time, it's really important that that's a priority. And I appreciate you sharing, how you balance that with what you're doing. It's such a, demanding university and program. And, again, it's great for me to just see the University of Houston doing so well. I've got, that hometown pride. But I'm even more excited about this podcast because I get to meet somebody that's a part of making that happen. So
Greg, finish this up with Bobby. Bobby, this is the last question we ask of all our guests, and you've been incredible, obviously. So Greg, finish this up on the last question. We don't have rapid fire. We have this question.
Yeah. So basically,
before the last question, I got one. Greg, where's the best place to get brisket in Houston?
Oh, there's so many good ones. The Good Company over there off of I-10 is really good, and that's still one of my favorite places. There is a company that I don't know if they've got several locations anymore, but Luther's Barbecue was one of my favorites, and I don't know if they're still around over in that side of town or not. So
okay,
yeah,
well, I've been to Good.
Hey, brisket's pork, right?
No, that's beef.
I'm
Come
kidding.
on, Tommy.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
So I've been to Good. There's Truth Barbecue. There's
Truth is good. Yeah, I forgot about Truth.
You look like you're skinny though, Bobby. What, you lost weight or what's the deal, man? You
I've been
working
on
out 9 hours a day?
I've been working on the filter on this camera. It's doing a great thing.
Yeah,
So,
you look like you lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah, I'm sure, Coach, you've probably been indoctrinated with the Papa's restaurant chain and all that you could probably find there between Papados and Papacitos. So that's another one that I miss from time to time. Yeah. So basically, in keeping with the theme of the title of our podcast, The Next Play, one of the things we like to do is ask our guests in closing, with where you're at in life and all the things that you've been able to accomplish and been a part of as a coach. What is your focus in your next play, the next steps that you're going to take as a coach in your career, and some of the things that you want to still accomplish?
Oh man, that is a whole lot more difficult.
There's a lot to that question, isn't
there? There is, because the first thing that came to mind is I got to go to HEB tonight to get some snacks for the guys for a road trip tomorrow. So that's next on the list.
Who do y'all play this weekend? Who do y'all have?
We head up to Fort Worth and play Dickies Arena, and we play St. Mary's out of California. It's a really good team. Actually, they finished second out in the Maui last year when we were in the Maui. So, the next step is those individual deals that go on. But, I really in planning stages of trying to figure out, because for, I don't know, 15 years, the goal was to keep climbing that ladder as an assistant and to get a head coaching job, and got one. And then, you always think that, hey, well, can get the next one, as opposed to focusing on being present, making present and making where you are being the big time. So I kind of did that, I thought, at North Alabama. And now I get all the questions. Oh, well, hey, man, you're going to be able to get a head coaching job again. I don't know. And so, again, spent 30 years of my life trying to become a Division I head coach, and 30 days or so before that dream, goal, whatever was about, the rug got pulled out from under me. So readjusting my goals and really my long-term goals are to be sure that my kids are in great shape and are dealing with an absent father on the right way, that they're adjusting to college. Being a dad of a college basketball player and being in college athletics, it's hard sometimes to have a conversation with my son about how he played or how the team's doing. So trying to get better at that, because it's hard watching a live stream and seeing your kid, and then you talk to him on the phone and, hey, he played 7 minutes and he's not sure about his role, or the team is 1-4, and trying to figure out what he can do to help them win. And so I'm trying to get better at communicating with him on that, and trying to get better at communicating with my wife on being 11 hours away and all the different things that are happening, and that she's trying to not tell me any of the problems that are going on, because she wants me to focus on this, and they want to come to Houston in late March and go to NRG Stadium and watch the Cougars redeem the NC State alley-oop.
Oh, that's right. The Final Four is in Houston.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So just another target.
Hey, can I air mattress it on your
Man, I'm Airbnb in my 1-bedroom apartment. There's going to be 6
I bet
people
you
in
are.
there.
That's a great idea.
I'm gonna pay. It's the rent's high in Midtown, man. So I need to get that done. But I don't really think I answered your question, because
No, you did, Coach. You did. I mean, that's great. I think,
it's really
I think it's just so important that, all of us as coaches recognize where people are at in their different levels of their coaching career and their different timelines, and all the things you're saying, I think are just great reminders to us that are still coaching, and to all those coaches that are out there listening, hey, it still comes down to prioritizing, what's your next step. But we're definitely
and his next
excited
step is be where his feet are, and that's so
well,
good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do on a daily basis. And you have to get, I'm not the head coach anymore. I'm not an assistant coach anymore. So, understanding what your role is and how you can help the team win in your role, which, is no different than a guy sitting on the bench for the Rockets, or a guy sitting on the bench at Aberdeen High School. You've got to figure out how you can help your team be better, and the best way to do that is be better individually, and so I'm working on that daily.
That's awesome.
Some days better than others.
Well, Bobby, thank you so much, buddy. We'll let you
man.
get going here, and wish the Cougars well, and we'll be keeping up
go
with you.
Cougs. I got to shout out the hometown team. So it's
Good
a
dude
pleasure
here.
getting to meet somebody associated with them.
Yeah. When's your next game, Coach?
Oh, well, yeah, we're not into our
He's
season
softball,
until the
so,
spring. So
Oh,
yeah,
you got to wait for the snow to thaw.
Exactly. Yeah. Fortunately, we got a turf field that we can plow, but if we didn't, I don't think we'd be getting out of the tundra anytime soon.
He's probably focused more on character, since he's NAI character coach of the year. So anyway,
that all plays a part, man. Every little bit helps.
So
yeah.
all right. Well, thank you
Coach,
for
nice to meet you.
listening, and wow, what a great episode, and go Cougars, and thanks a lot, Bobby. Greg,
Thank
until
you.
next time.
All right. Take care, everybody.
How do I stop that?